everyone, welcome to A Beautiful Mess. My name is Bonnie and I'm so glad you're here. I cannot wait to show you the kitchen that I'm tackling today because this was a super fun one for me, and I'll tell you more about why in just a minute. But first, let me tell you about the family who lives here. So Ashley is the mom who reached out to me for help, and she lives here with her husband and 4 boys, all under the age of 8, I believe. And just saying that sentence makes me exhausted, so I don't know how she does it. But that's exactly why she reached out for help, is she's a little overwhelmed. Doesn't this look like the kitchen of an overwhelmed mom? I imagine a lot of kitchens look just like this one, where they just need a fresh start, maybe a little organization help, and we're good to go. As I mentioned, this is one of my favorite kinds of cleans to do, not only because I'm helping an overwhelmed mom, and that just feels rewarding, but I love that big initial transformation where you get the counters cleared, the dishes done, just all the surface level stuff clean. And then you take a deeper dive into organizing the cabinets and drawers and whatever else needs it. And that's why I'm showing you the insides of all these cabinets, is because I'm hoping to be able to get to most, if not all of them. I will be breaking this video up into 2 parts, so you'll have to stick around to see how many of these cabinets and drawers I actually get to. But that doesn't mean you have to wait until part 2 to see some good before and afters. There will be a ton of before and afters at the end of this video after I get all of the surface level stuff cleaned up. And then part 2 is going to be all about that organization. And there's going to be a lot of organization. So I hope you'll join me for that one as well. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is grab some totes and baskets that I brought and start gathering up all the like items together and setting those aside. So some of the categories I'm creating here are arts and crafts, toys, food, paperwork, and then of course there's the dirty dishes that I'm just putting in the sink for now until we get to the dishes. And then a lot of the totes I'm setting aside, I will just let the family take care of putting away, like the toys, because I don't know where those go. Probably not in the kitchen though. So anything that's going to go back in the kitchen, I am going to just keep set aside until I'm ready to organize the cabinets and drawers, because it doesn't really make sense to put it away just to pull it back out again. So once I get to the organization, I'll bring in those totes and combine it with all the other stuff that I'll be pulling out. Plus, I want to have a conversation with Mom and see if she has any preferences on where things are stored, or if she's open to suggestions and having me move some stuff around if I feel like it would make things a little more functional. As you can probably tell by the background chatter, Ashley and her 2 younger boys are at home while her older 2 are at school. And I was aware that that was going to be the case, which I try to be as accommodating as possible because I don't like to kick anyone out of their house all day long, especially if they don't really have anywhere to go. But knowing that there were going to be small children there, and that I have a tendency to get a little overwhelmed with a lot of background noise, especially if it's loud and there's screaming involved, which is often the case with small children, I came prepared with earbuds. Sometimes you've just got to use what you've got. That lid made for a fine scoop and transfer to the garbage. Of course, only after I picked out all the little teeny tiny toys that got mixed in with all that stuff. You know, like Legos. Okay, I always have to do an initial sweep because I don't enjoy having things crunching under my feet in the kitchen. The only things that I really find satisfying to crunch underfoot are crisp autumn leaves, preferably outside and not in my kitchen. Also, check out this vertical organization. This is going to make it so much easier for her to go through that paperwork that I set aside and figure out where it goes or what can be tossed, all of that. You just gotta love that vertical organization. And if you like it too, you should let me know by going and hitting that like button. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss part 2 of this video. Did you know it's totally free to subscribe? Well, it is, and this is not one of those free things that's going to add to your clutter. In fact, it will probably help to reduce it. We now have a clear counter to put some of the clean dishes on that are in the dishwasher. And I want to mention that yes, I am still wearing the same gloves that I was in the beginning, which is probably making some of you go, ew, weren't those dirty and now you're touching all the clean dishes? No, because here's what I do. Rather than changing my gloves every single time I switch between a clean and dirty task, I wash my hands with my gloves on as though they are just an extension of my skin so that I don't have to go through so many pairs of gloves. So technically, they are clean gloves. And you'll notice here, I'm not putting any of this stuff away in the cupboards or in the drawers because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to put all that stuff away just to pull it back out and reorganize everything. So I'm just stacking them there for now. And honestly, at this point, I thought I was going to be able to get to some of the organization of the cupboards before I left on day 1. But that didn't happen because, as it always does, everything takes so much longer than you plan on. I was so thankful she had a working dishwasher because sippy cups and bottles have a lot of tiny things to clean. It's very tedious stuff and takes forever. Give me greasy pots and pans all day long, but all the little things, yeah, I don't enjoy that as much. So thank heavens for dishwashers, especially with those top racks that you can just load all of those tiny little things onto and let it just do its thing. Okay, we have an empty sink now all ready to scrub, but before we get to all of that beautiful scrubbing, I just wanted to quickly mention memberships to my channel. I have 3 tiers of membership available, but the super sub level is where it's at, and it's only $4.99 a month. $4.99 you say? Yes, $4.99. And for that amount, you get access to all this extra content, including the members only lives that I do. And then this is just a little sample of some of the extra content that I've put out recently. So things like clean with me videos to just provide a little extra motivation for those days when you're just not feeling it. I've got decluttering videos, how I organize things around my own home. I share some of the outdoor projects we've been working on, and I have to say some of those are pretty satisfying to watch. But I've also got some DIY projects on there that I've done to save some money. I share some creative hacks I've come up with. And anyway, there's just a whole bunch of fun content over there, and it's a great way to help support my channel, plus get a little extra for yourself. And guess what? If you join and you hate it, there is no obligation to stay. But for $4.99, I think it's worth just checking out. So if you want to join, go find that join button that's below every video, or at least it should be. But if you can't find it there, you can always go to my homepage and there should be a join button on my homepage. Plus, I also put a link in every video description. So come check it out. All right, let's get back to the sink. And I'm going to be quiet because these are some great scrubbing sounds. I'm not really sure what this is, but I'm gonna razor it off carefully. Actually, I'm gonna use the plastic one first. See if that's strong enough. I'm betting it's some kind of resin because she likes to do little crafts and she uses resin sometimes. The plastic blade wasn't quite cutting it, so I did switch back to a metal blade. But just a warning, this can scratch a porcelain sink, so just be very careful if you use a razor on a porcelain sink. However, since this was already ruined with that resin, I think the risk of a few scratches was worth getting that resin off. A little tricky right there. Okay, without spending all day on it, I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get. It wasn't until after the fact that I thought, I bet a pumice stone would have gotten that off a lot easier. It's one of my favorite tools, the crevice brush. If you want to get your own, check my video description for the Amazon link, and that will take you to a page that shows you all of my favorite cleaning products. I'm hitting this right side of the sink with another round of Barkeeper's Friend because the first round didn't quite get everything. I could have also used toilet bowl cleaner with bleach to get the rest of those stains, but I decided in this case just another round of Barkeeper's Friend was sufficient. Just got to get those last few details with the crevice brush. And here's that amazing before and after. I actually have two before and afters for you because it was such a great transformation. Ah, so satisfying, right? Okay, moving on to the stovetop. And that stuff that I just put on there is Wyman's glass cooktop cleaner, which was actually hers, but I have used this on my own glass cooktop and it works great. But it is actually supposed to be used as the last step after you've removed all the debris and everything, and it just gives it a good shine. I mean, it worked just fine this way. I just probably could have used something more like Barkeeper's Friend or baking soda or even just dish soap, because honestly the razor scraper is doing most of the heavy lifting here and getting all of this stuck on debris off. But I will use the Wyman's again as the very final step after I've cleaned the, I don't even know what to call it, the place with the knobs and the clock and everything. The control panel? Yeah, I guess we'll go with control panel. The stuff I just sprayed is also Wyman's, but it's the stainless steel cleaner. But once again, I should not have started with the Wyman's. This was deceivingly dirtier than I thought. And right about here is where I realized I should have probably started with some dish soap or some kind of degreaser. So I'm going to grab some dish soap, give it a good scrub, and then apply the Wyman's. I would normally take the knobs off, but these are not that bad, so I'm not gonna mess with that. Okay, now the Wyman's. I'm gonna spray it on here instead. This is for the stainless steel. The other Wyman's is for the glass top. So it's actually at this point that you're supposed to put on that glass cooktop cleaner. Just so you know. I'm just going to do that for good measure. Just a quick before and after of that before we move on to the front and sides of the stove. Just using plain dish soap to scrub the front of this one. And yes, I know I'm making a mess, but that's okay because I will clean it up. Bubbles are fun. I don't know why this is making me laugh, but it is. And no, I'm not cleaning the oven because it's actually pretty clean. About the cleanest oven I've ever seen in someone's home. Wipe and dry. I told you I would clean it up. Don't get after me. Gosh, it's so pretty. After it dries. Guys, I'm kind of in a weird mood and I don't know why. I feel like singing until the family gets back home and then I'll try to be normal again. Yeah, that weird mood that I'm in is actually way closer to my normal than you would ever know. All right, little before and after. This is not as satisfying from that top view. It doesn't look as shiny for some reason. And yes, I am sticking my tongue out at you in this after shot from the front. All right, the last thing I'm going to do before I show you the before and afters from this first day is wipe down this dishwasher and apply some Wyman stainless steel. Okay, before and after of that, and guess what? I lied to you. We're not going to do the before and afters next. I'm going to show you what's coming up in part 2 of this house. So as promised, it's going to be a lot of organization. So like I said, you'll have to see how many of these cupboards and drawers I actually get to. Plus, I'm going to tackle the pantry. So make sure that you're subscribed and you have those notifications turned on so you don't miss when I put that one out. Okay, now here are those before and afters. And I actually have almost a full 2 minutes of before and afters. Do you think that's too much? Nah, they're the best. But while you're enjoying these before and afters, may I just give you a reminder to be kinder? And yes, I wanted to say it that way just because it rhymes. But seriously, this is something that I have been thinking about the last couple of days. Not that I don't always try to be kind, but let me just first tell you the situation. So we've had a couple of wildfires here locally, and it was later reported that one of them was caused by some juveniles. I was reading this story on Facebook, and I bet you can imagine the kinds of comments that were in the comment section. It was basically a burn 'em at the stake mentality. Things like they need to be prosecuted at the highest level, how horrible the parents were to raise such disrespectful kids, making assumptions that it was probably fireworks they were playing with that caused it. Anyway, all kinds of judgments. And all of those may be true, but what if they're not? I think about my kids, and if they had accidentally started a wildfire, how horrible they would feel about that. And yes, they should be held responsible and have an appropriate punishment. But can we stop shaming people for mistakes that they've made? Because we've made plenty ourselves. And I'll admit, yes, my first reaction was, oh, those dang kids. But after reading a few of the comments, I started to feel really bad for both the parents and the kids to be getting so much hate when this could have been an innocent mistake. Anyway, I'm certainly not perfect at this, but it's something I'm working on, is just trying to give people a little more grace. But speaking of fires, I'm going to end today's video with a little sneak peek at what I'm putting out next in my members only section, which is a behind the scenes look at my son's wildland firefighting job that he does during the summer. So if you want to see that, go find that join button and we'll see you over there. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today on this one. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye guys.